Hey guys, thanks for joining us for episode 2 of our Star Trek Discovery Look Back series. This is the episode The Battle of the Binary Stars. And this is where stuff starts happening. Last episode was all build up. We have some mutiny that doesn't make sense. We have Klingons stalking Klingons and putting bodies in sarcophagi. Klingons wearing elf clothes. And now the 24 houses have arrived.
Yes, they have.
And Michael is in the brig.
Yes, she is.
So looking back, anything in this episode stand out to you? Now that we've seen the entire first chapter.
Oh man. Actually, this episode was a kind of a lot. It was a lot more fun to rewatch. Like a lot of stuff happens in this episode. The coolest, craziest thing is the Admiral arriving, because like it's hitting the fan, and so the Admiral shows up, and he's trying to like broker a peace deal, and he ends up being like purposefully rammed, like they rammed the Klingons rammed their ship because it's cloaked.
With a ship that looks like a boat. I wish we could have
Yes,
seen that
it
ship
does look
better.
it's like a giant Klingon pirate ship.
I wish we could have seen that ship better because we saw the front of it ram the Europa, and it looks like it looks like a boat because it's got that sharp edge on the front that would cut through water. That's cutting through the Europa.
Oh my god. That is it. When that happened, I remember the first time I was watching that episode, I was like, whoa! And then they do the only thing that they can do. The Europa sacrifices itself, and all, I'm assuming pretty much all the crew members who are on board, they sacrifice themselves.
Actually, no. No.
Is that the ship Ash Tyler was on?
No, I don't know if that's the ship Ash Tyler was on, but if you watch the scene during the ramming scene where the camera's sweeping underneath the under nacelles of the Europa, there's lots of little things flying at the screen. Those are
there escape pods?
Escape pods. I did not notice that on my first couple watches. I noticed it on this watch, and I'm like, okay. We don't know if I'm guessing the Admiral went down with his ship because we don't ever see him call Lorca. It's just Terrell or Cornwall.
Yeah. But I mean, it was a badass move by a Federation captain to basically take down the enemy in the best way they could. Yeah, it was crazy. Absolutely crazy.
It was a badass move, but I'm glad I saw some life pods. I'm glad they just didn't sacrifice the. That seems more like a Klingon thing to do, is sacrifice all hands.
All hands on. Oh yeah, everybody is going to go down with that ship, and that there wasn't. I question the fact, like there's an episode, I can't remember which series it is, where they're like, everybody get to the escape pods on like a Klingon vessel, and I'm like, what? Klingon vessels wouldn't bother with an escape pod. They'd be like, if you can't get your ass to the shuttle bay, you're dead. You're going down with the ship.
I'm pretty sure that's Deep Space Nine.
Yeah, is it Deep Space Nine?
I'm pretty sure it's Deep Space Nine. I don't think it's TNG.
I just remember Devin and I were watching it. My husband and I were watching it. We were both kind of like, huh.
Well, because the whole next episode is Worf stuck in the escape pod, and Dax is trying to find him.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's Deep Space Nine.
So weird. So yeah.
Like Worf just sitting in an escape pod for days and days and days. I'm pretty sure if this was TNG, Worf would have said Klingons do not use escape pods.
Right. And would have just ripped the hatch open and shot himself out into space. Oh, Worf.
Absolutely. But yet prune juice is a Klingon drink.
We're not talking about that.
No.
We're talking about Discovery. And oh my god, so then the Klingons start beaming their dead aboard. Pulling their warriors aboard, which is crazy.
Especially since the Klingon precedent of just the bodies are a shell, who cares?
Right. But on the flip side, Takuvma's house is clearly they're like some next level kind of almost religious cult. I feel
Yes.
like. And so,
We need the
like,
bodies to adorn our ship.
right. So I guess it surprises me somewhat less. I mean, like the soul or whatever you want to call it for Klingons, like goes off to the Black Fleet and Stovacor, but the body remains behind to fight another day.
It's a very interesting take on Klingon death, and I wonder how quickly this dies out. It's gonna die out in the next 100 years, but or maybe it's already dead. Maybe it's only his cult that does it.
Right. Yeah, that's an interesting. Yeah, we don't really know at this point.
Not enough Klingon.
Yeah, they're. I mean, we're only 2 episodes in, but yeah, there's quite a bit of Klingon in the first 2 episodes, and then it kind of like dissipates as it goes.
It peters out as it goes forward. Absolutely.
Oh, it's just crazy. I love the way that they talk about. Um, oh, I love Burnham's scene in this episode with the with
the bridge
trying to out logic the computer to save herself. Is in this episode because she's trapped in the brig.
Yeah.
And she only has like 9 minutes to live or whatever. So she basically has to like outmaneuver, like out logic a computer in order to get herself out of the brig.
It's a very Kirk-esque thing that she got to do, arguing with the computer. I just don't understand why the computer was too dumb to realize that she was going to die. I don't understand. It's a scene to me that didn't need to happen. She outlogics the computer, but the computer knew the situation. They kept talking about the shield, and then she's like, well, if I get exposed to vacuum of space, I'll die. I guess the computer figured she'd die either way, so they didn't want to let her out.
I like to think of it's you know how like nowadays a lot of you can use a solid state hard drive, so it's not as big of a deal. But like when you've got your hard disk drives, you have to defrag them once in a while because the information kind of gets scattered. I feel like the ship computer needed a defragging in that moment to get to the more logical, like get the path a little clearer.
It's also, I think, the first time we've heard of computers having ethical subroutines.
Right. Yeah.
I don't think it ever came up in TNG or Next Gen or even TOS. The computer had ethical routines. That's interesting.
We learn a little bit more in this episode about the history of Burnham and Giorgio, and more of Burnham's time with the Vulcans.
Yeah, because the episode pretty much starts off with a flashback, and they beam on, and Michael's just terrible to Giorgio, and Sarek's got to be like, how about first contact then? How about like civilities? Like niceties have to be earned. And I'm like, how did first contact ever happen? How? The Vulcans are terrible to anyone who's not a Vulcan. Like they won't like hit you or fire upon you, but they'll just talk down to you. Or
yeah, they will. And I feel like that was something that was really well established in Enterprise too. Like Vulcans are very different in Enterprise than the Vulcans that we eventually meet kind of later on. And yeah, the fact that they rubbed off that sort of level of, I don't know what it is, like it's kind of a snideness onto an actual human, I think is really funny.
It is, but how do they get anything? It's just Michael was so rude the entire time to Giorgio in that flashback. It's kind of hard and annoying to watch. Yes, I know you've lived with Vulcans for a long time, but like, you know why you're there. You're there to join the crew, and you're just going to like shrug your shoulders and talk down to the person who's going to be your captain. What a great first impression. I mean, you don't have to be overly nice, but you don't have to be like, a dick.
Right. Yeah, it's true.
I just don't understand why first contact happened if Vulcans are the way they are. Especially as we get to see it in Lethe, where the Vulcans are totally against humans joining their cause, and the
Oh well,
the Vulcan logic extremists. It's like,
yeah.
what's going on?
And that's, I mean, I feel like that again is something that they actually did a pretty good job of actually establishing within Enterprise. As much flack as Enterprise gets for a lot of things, I feel like they really sort of established kind of the more antagonistic relationship between humans and Vulcans, and and a lot of that arrogance or perceived arrogance from the humans to the that humans perceive in Vulcans. Vulcans, I think, don't necessarily see it as arrogance at that point, but it really is.
Yeah, it's. I mean, Enterprise does do a good job of establishing it, and so it makes sense to happen here. Except I feel like the logic extremists. Again, jumping ahead, but I feel like the logic extremists should have happened closer to Enterprise, since it's been
Yeah.
like 90 years. Like, why all of a sudden after 90 years are they getting that extreme? It seems like it should have been like that's the knee jerk reaction, and then things calm down.
Oh my gosh, then we have the battle on Takuvma's ship. Well, they have to decide how they're gonna like what they're gonna do, and I love the fact that Burnham understands that for a Klingon there's a lot of honor in death, and so if they actually capture Takuvma, then it's going to it really is more of a it's an insult, and it's sort of will shame him and for his to his people. But if he dies, you're talking about making a martyr out of him, and that's like the last thing that they want to do, because I mean they do not want to give the Klingons a reason to keep fighting, and especially after they've seen just how powerful the Klingon fleet can be. So
And yet, on Takuma's ship, as soon as Giorgio takes it through the heart, she switches her phaser to kill and blasts Takuma through the heart chest cavity.
and it's funny because like I watched and rewatched that, and I was like, where when did she switch that? Like because she even looks down at the phaser and sees the red and is like, oh crap, what did I just do? Like she has that moment in her eyes after that happens when
She
you know
switches it. She switches it
that
on screen
I
from
don't know how I managed to miss it. I must like glaze out or something at these like tiny little moments, because like she
It
looks
is. It's blink if
exactly.
you miss it, but it was blue. She turns it red and then shoots him. Like, it is a conscious decision to murder him. I
Yeah,
feel like it's a self fulfilling prophecy that she just was like, oh, okay, I'm just gonna do it. It didn't. It wouldn't matter. Like, if if he stunned him right there, he could have recovered her body because they needed to recover him. It
right.
just Star Trek does this, especially in the movies, where they generate plot convenience so the plot can happen.
Right. Yeah.
Like Insurrection, Data's on a first contact mission. He discovers a thing and he goes haywire because he was on a first contact mission. Watching this race, and I'm like, when has first contact ever gone well for Data? He's the last person you ever want to bring on a first contact mission. Let's throw him on one anyway, right? Or on a mission where you're observing an old race that isn't ready to be brought in.
Right.
It's just like plot needs to happen, so this is how we're making the plot happen. And it's just, if you think about it, it's just kind of like, "Ugh.
Ah,
Don't
I
be
love.
convenient for the sake of convenient." Like, it just, I mean, they could have found a reason for the war to keep happening anyway. Maybe Philippa injured him to the point of death or something. Like,
Right.
they both stab each other. Because
She's
Takuma's kind of
definitely.
having a hard time. Like,
Yeah.
Takuma just kind of got a lucky shot because he was on his knees at one point during that fight.
Right. Yeah, she took him out. She like really hard took out his knee.
She crouching
Uh,
tigered his knee.
yeah. I love the I had to pull up the quote because I loved it. I love the message that Takuvma gives to the Starfleet vessels that are like hanging out.
After the
That
battle's done.
Yeah, members of the Federation, what you call your most remote borders, I call too close to Klingon territory. You only live now to serve as witnesses of Klingon supremacy, to be my herald. We do not desire to know you, but you will know our great houses, standing as one under Kalis, reborn in me to Kuvma. Oh! Like, at that point, you realize just how kind of like, just how culty.
Yeah, he's the cult leader, most definitely.
Right. He is Kalis reborn. Like,
David
damn,
Suresh
dog. Like,
reborn.
really?
Yeah, it's like he's very full of himself.
Well, and his downfall, even then, and his death, when you realize, in saying that he really truly believes that he is sort of the reborn. I mean, Kalis, the Klingons killed their god, so it's not, Kalis isn't necessarily a god, but he's like the ultimate warrior to the Klingon people, and
Kalis is Klingon Jesus.
yeah, like, and so to sort of take on that persona and then lead under it, there's really only, two things that can happen. You continue to lead, or you die and rally people even further to your cause. And they said the fact that maybe he does want to die, and to truly unite. That they make that comment that somebody says, like, maybe that really is what he wants to do. And now we'll never know what it was that he wanted to do, because he did.
he very did. It'd be nice if we had a flashback to when he damages their array, so maybe we can get some more like plot, like why he did the things he did, because of course he damaged it, and of course he was setting the trap, but maybe we could have gotten a little bit more reasoning from him,
right?
In that time. So I don't know.
Yeah, this episode opened up a lot more questions.
Every single episode of Star Trek Discovery opens up more questions than it answers.
And it definitely, it closed a few doors on a couple characters, but it definitely also blew wide open, just what is about to go down. I think it unfortunately, too, it sets the stage for the fact that we don't get to see a lot of the war happening across the course of Star Trek Discovery. We get these, like, moments, and we know that a war is now happening, and that there are battles being fought across space. But I'm continually kind of surprised with each episode that we really don't get to see a whole lot of the actual war. Just people responding to it. So
that is extremely disappointing to me, because I feel like the writers / producers, whoever's running the media campaign on Star Trek Discovery, did a bait and switch. And this is not to say that I don't like the show. I really do enjoy the show overall. Where I feel like we got a bait and switch is that they said we're having lots of Klingons, and it's going to be about the Klingon War. But every single episode after Battle of the Binary Stars does everything to keep us away from the war.
Right.
Like, we had the whole Harry Mudd episode. That he's gonna sell them back to the Klingons, but that's not showing the war. That's totally a one-off episode that didn't need to happen this season. Like he wanted his revenge on Lorca. That should have happened later, I think. And we don't know how Mudd got away and any of the other stuff, which makes it happening later make even more sense. And then we had episode 8, CV's Pacem Parabellum, where they're like, oh, we need crystals on this planet because sonar, because can't you just get crystals from somewhere else if you need crystals for sonar? Like, if you're going to build a sonar, like, build a sonar.
Right.
Like, I don't need, I mean...
Yep.
It just seems...
No, I know.
It just, like, it's a whole episode where, like, nothing happens.
Yeah, we get this episode, we get the last episode, the first 2 episodes set up the war. And so I think as far as like looking back, it's like, these 2 episodes established this war. But I think my biggest frustration going forward is the fact that we don't really get to see much of that war. And this episode basically just ends with Burnham, she ended in the brig at the end of the last episode, and in this episode she's being tried for mutiny, and she's in front of this, a sort of a board for a court-martial, and she's about to get sentenced to life in prison. So we literally have, in the first 2 episodes, the main character that we've been known is going to happen ends up in the brig and then in prison for life. And I remembered watching this the first time and just being like, what? And Philippa Georgiou is dead. Like,
yeah. Well, I didn't think Philippa Georgiou belonged for the world when she was credited in the credits as special guest star.
Right.
But Michael...
And I knew we weren't on the Discovery because, the show is called Discovery. We're on the Shenzhou. But I'm also kind of like, we just lost like 2 of our main characters. What's going on?
Yeah, that surprised me too, because I thought Takuma would have been the big bad. And
3 main characters, yeah, because we lost Takuma as well. So, yep.
Yeah. So, and then the court martial, and I'm like, how are they gonna get her out of this? It doesn't seem like a very good setup for a show going forward. She's going to plant lots of plants like Tom Paris did. Look at all that Klingon War happening far away where I plant these plants. Battle of Binary Stars. It's like our one and only big battle. I mean, we get some smaller things like twice else in the rest of the series, but looking back, it's just they promised war, and I don't think they delivered.
Yeah, at least not yet. We still have, 6 episodes or whatever to go. So
we do, but they might be stuck in the mirror universe for another 3 episodes or 2 episodes. Or
are they in the mirror universe? Have they been in the mirror universe? These are questions for later episodes of the Look Back, though.
Exactly. But we'll have to see how it goes. That was episode 2 of our Look Back. If you liked it, please like and subscribe to this YouTube channel for more wheneverly updates. I don't know if this is going to be weekly or bi-weekly yet. Just stay tuned. As far as social media, Jen, tell us where we can find you.
www.KlingonPopWarrior.com, at KlingonPop on Twitter, and you can find me at Facebook.com/KlingonPopWarrior. I'm all over the place singing songs in Klingon.
Absolutely. And for us, you can find us at Synthaholic Duo on Twitter, and stay tuned here where you can hear our podcasts and more of these videos and weekly drink videos. So stay tuned for all of that. Live long and prosper, everybody.